All right. Hey, what's up, guys? Had some technical difficulties here, but I think I'm back at it. Welcome to another edition of In the Mix with A Gray. Very grateful for you to be here. And today we're going to be covering a lot of different pieces. This is a time of completion for me. So you'll notice that, in your quest to becoming the best producer that you can be, the best composer, the best beat maker, that you're going to have these crests, right? And then you're going to have to come back down and peaks and valleys, things that you're going to have to be maneuvering and navigating as you move forward with your career. This could be music licensing, this could be music production as a whole. As some of you may know, my name is Eddie Gray, and I've been able to do this full time for a couple years now, and I'm having a great time. And now I'm in the spirit to show other people, hey, here's some options for you. Here's some things that have worked for me, and I want to share. If you got anything you want to contribute to me, we can do that too. But the bottom line is that there's a market out there that is willing to pay you, is willing to literally commission you, hire you for your music. Now, if you're not in the up and up about the industry, it's going to be really hard for you to get connected. But literally, just right before getting on this call, I just got a job to write songs in the vein of certain groups, Imagine Dragons, for what they call sports anthemic rock, right? And so this is a pretty lucrative gig that pays out. And so I just kind of want to give creative people, what I like to call the modern creative, an opportunity, a shot that, if you have a desire and if you want to fulfill that desire to be a creative person in today's world and also be successful, right? Have it be something that's lucrative where you're buying new speakers, you're buying new interfaces, you're upgrading to the new, such and such. So that's kind of my proposition to you, is that it's possible, and I'm very excited. So here, I want to get into the session, and I want to close the book on a couple of the projects that were kind of open-ended. So you may have remembered, I think I might have played this one, I could be wrong, but either way, I want to talk about the session real quick because I think it'll be helpful in terms of, what does it look like, and what does it sound like to be able to provide music for, the marketplace with music licensing. So with this track here, I called it Phantoms. I ended up changing the name. It started off as a very basic intro, just a very simple exercise. Pulled up a couple loops, was playing with the filters, and just really having a good time and just enjoying the DAW. And then we created a kind of fleshed out A section, which is really just a reprise of this, right? We just kind of brought it back. And then I had my assistant work on the B section here, and he came out with a pretty nice B section that I polished up. And then, turn around, go back to the main theme, the main section, and then just to go back to the intro with a couple of little decorations. So I'm going to go ahead and press play the whole thing out, and then I'll get back at it. Here we go. Okay, so now you get a sense of what I'm talking about. This is not necessarily something you would hear, um, you know, top 40. This is kind of another thing altogether. And so there are a lot of people out there. They have, another way of thinking about it. They have another way of approaching music. And yeah, I'd love for people to experience, a win when it comes to their music. Like, can you imagine having your song, on a trailer, on a film trailer? Can you imagine having your song uh, on a commercial? You get paid $5,000. So this is happening day in, day out. Media has not stopped. Sure, things have probably changed a bit, but all in all, the market remains the same. So it's important for people to realize that, you can do it. This is not something outside the scope. In fact, I would even venture to say that this is great, as an entry level. Like if perhaps you want to start getting into music and you don't know how, you don't have any connections in the pop world, then this is a great segue for you to get into it. I mean, I'm telling you, it's not outside the scope of who you are and what you're up to. You just have to have a desire. You have to be committed to the discipline of it, really be on top of your game, right? Really have it polished. And then after that, it's just brick by brick by brick by brick. So I want to talk about this session real quick. Let's take a look. Again, it started off really simple idea. I, started out with this sequence here. And after I played with that enough, I got convinced that it could turn into something. So I fleshed out the rest of it. I didn't have a bass line, but I had fleshed out kind of from here to here. And then I had an outro. And then, like I said, Robert, my assistant, came in and fleshed out this part. He added the synth here. And after that, it all just kind of came together. So I want to talk about some of the things that really worked here and why they worked. Okay, so let's listen to this section right here. And let's talk about groove for a second. Here we go. All right, sweet. So I made it a point to essentially kind of run a basic drill, and it goes something like this. Every single time the snare hits, I want the bass to cut. And so this kind of assures that no matter what happens, I'm going to have a very kind of clean, flow. We want the relationship between this track and this track to be as tight as possible, right? We're talking about the rhythm section here. So let me go ahead and solo the rhythm section. And if you're wondering what this track is, number 52, let's take a quick look at it. This is called an alias in Logic. It's pretty sweet. Rather than me having to, have a MIDI section up here and then another MIDI region here, let me delete it. Hold on. Okay. If I drag it down and hold Option, we know it's going to create a duplicate. But if I do the same thing, hold Option, and then add the keyboard modifier Shift, what ends up happening is it creates what's called an alias. And so now this clone, if you will, is referencing this. And so now I have the ability to write with another synthesizer, maybe add in another bass. One of the things that I like to do, especially for like hybridized productions, is have some kind of, futuristic kind of synthesized bass that sounds like this. Okay. And then on top of that, you add a MIDI bass that's just a, electric bass, and it should sound like this. Okay. And then by having that relationship, it it works out, right? Everything looks the way it needs to look. And so um, sometimes it won't sound as good unless you have that relationship there. So here, let me kind of backtrack here because it looks like some things moved around. All right, sweet, looks good. All right, so that was the first thing. So then now I'm gonna solo the rhythm section, and let's just hear that relationship, how tight it's going to sound. And every single time that snare hits, or most times, call it 90% of the time, when that snare hits, the bass is going to cut out. Okay, here we go. All right, cool. So that is the first thing: is you want to create groove. You want to create something that fits well together. Synthesis, where it just really gels. I'm not talking about synthesizers. I'm talking about something coming together and really sounding like one. So that was a big part of why this worked. A lot of these sounds are also very complementary. Let me show you what I mean. Let me solo all these synthesizers. Here you go. All right, so you see how none of those are kind of arguing with each other, right? Everything kind of has its own place. Everything is sitting in its own spot. And so that's a very important part of this as well, is having everything work together. It's like you're fabricating a story, right? A bunch of different sounds, and you're telling a story through sound, right? And so this is a cool sound, but maybe it's possible that if I play this out for 4 minutes, maybe that wouldn't be as interesting as it could be. And so by creating a B section here, which is not necessary to do in every song, especially in music licensing, but we now get the opportunity to create a little bit of a diversion, right? So we could have gone straight into it, right? All the parts are working. There's a nice flow, but I decided to add a transition. And so I want to show you what it sounds like with the transition, and then I'm going to take it away. And I think you'll see kind of my reasoning. I was like, wow, it would be really nice if we had something to separate the A and the B section. So here, let me play this. All right, well, look, let me show you what it sounded like before, okay? Because I didn't have that little transition. So that's a nice little trick that you can use, create a bar of music from, 25 to 26 or whatever the case may be, and then add a fill. Do something different, because without it, let me show you what the transition sounded like. It didn't have any momentum. It just sounded like it just carried over and nothing kind of special happened here. Take a listen. No right or wrong, but this is just another composition tool that you can use right before moving into the next section. Use a diversion, just something to kind of get the party started, uplift the track, surprise your listener, right? How can you separate yourself? It's a lot of these small things, automation, consistency, and then obviously a polished recording, a polished production. So that's another thing there that worked out pretty well. And I definitely got to show you this here. Check this out. So here are all the drums. And there's two things here that I want to talk to you about. I was playing with the drums and everything sounded good to me. Here, let's play this to reference it real quick. So one of my tricks that I use quite a lot is I'll add delay to a drum set. And I do it in a very slight manner. And what that does for me is it gives me a kind of creativity, a kind of looseness that I didn't really have before. So here, listen to this part without the delay. Check it out. So yeah, there's something about it. There's something about just adding a little bit of delay to your drums. I do want to point out that I didn't use that for the A sections. It was just something I needed a little bit of extra magic for that B section, and so I kept this part pretty still. Here, let's listen for reference. Yeah, of course we hear the reverb, and that works quite well. But there's no delay there. And so that's a little trick that I want you to start to implement. Here, do me a favor, take a snapshot of that, and then on your next production, you could do it on the whole track or a B section, but just add a little bit of delay. And I find that it adds a lot of magic if done the right way, right? Don't overdo it. Let it be subtle. But it will add an element of spontaneity. The production will sound bigger. Try it out. Let me know what you think. Okay, so that's great. But here, there's another thing that we got to talk about. These are the small things that make a difference. Everybody knows about EQ. Everybody knows about compression. We're talking about the little things now. All right, it's a game of inches. You guys know that. It's a game of inches. You want to win. It's a game of inches, right? Brick by brick. This is not going to happen overnight. So, I have a sustained bass here. Check it out. All right, so it's sidechained. We already know that behavior, but something that you may not have worked on, something that you possibly have not thought of is, okay, well, what if I add another bass on top of that, raise it up an octave, so it's up an entire octave, but then kind of create a sidechain relationship here. And so I'll show you how I did that here. Check this out. Okay, so what's happening here? How are we pulling this off? Okay, so we have, let's call this the low bass or the sub, right? And then let me also categorize this. This should be called like high. And so what's happening is every single time this higher bass plays, this sub bass doesn't play, or it ducks down. And so most people, they understand sidechaining. They know to sidechain the kick and the bass. It's all kind of like standard protocol here. But what people don't really discuss is the relationship between a sub bass and then an electric bass or a bass in another register. Usually they would leave this bass and they would just sustain out. So listen to how muddy this sounds now. Here, check this out. See how sloppy that sounds? Right? Here, compare it to this. We're talking details, guys. Come on, get in it. Take some notes. We're talking details. Here we go. All right, let me tell you, if you're going to pull this off, if you're really going to pull this off and you're really going to kind of shine and, kind of outdo the rest or kind of stand head and shoulders above the rest, it's going to happen because you do a lot of very small things. And that's kind of what I'm here to show, all my people. So my name's Eddie Gray. Just want to make sure for any of you that that's new, I'm a head composer. I'm a producer in the LA area, and I just want to kind of share some of the things that I've been able to pick up in the last 7 years. All right. I'm about to wrap up on this song, and then I'm going to show you a production that I just did with a local rapper. Just recorded the whole song. We tracked vocals on Sunday. All right. And so I kind of just want to show people, hey, look, this is what it takes. This is how you develop. This is how you go from A to Z. And then hopefully in doing that and showing people kind of the roadmap, what will end up happening is that they become inspired, right? Maybe they show somebody else. Maybe they team up with some of their buddies and they start writing. And so that's kind of the my outlook here. My intention is just to give people a little bit of what I do so that they can now take that and then, make something of their own. So let's finish up this session here. And the last thing I want to show you is right here towards the end. All right. So let me play this out from here to here. All right, so I basically added an element here that I didn't really have in the beginning. The way that the song ended originally, it didn't have any of this, right? It just ended up like kind of on a note of suspense, and that doesn't really work when it comes to especially music licensing projects. It's very important that you end kind of on the one. So I kind of fabricated an ending. You can watch one of the previous videos, but the part that I want to point out here is that I took this kick here, and you can see that I added a ton of reverb. And if you've ever been interested in sound design, right, how to like create your own sounds and how to make remarkable sounding samples, then this is something that's going to take time as well. I mean, look, when we talk about the modern creative, each one of you, right? Like, what are you doing right now? Let's look at it objectively. Not only are you producing music, but you're writing it, you're arranging it, right? On top of that, you have to be the administration person that like distributes it and tries to pitch it and send it off to people. There's a lot of responsibility, and so the way that we want to think about this when we first start is, hey, let me keep this as simple as possible. Let me learn one thing at a time. Let me learn just one thing at a time. And if I can conquer that one thing, then I can move on to the next thing. But let me tell you, if you learn something incorrectly, right? If you don't take the time to really learn, let's say your DAW, right, Logic or Ableton or FL, what's going to happen is you're going to start having gaps in your understanding, right? You're going to try and move forward, but you're going to have some gaps, and so basically it's never going to feel like you have momentum. And so what I want to throw out there is, hey, take the time to learn the DAW. If you master it and you put it in your back pocket, let me tell you, you're going to be a champ. You're going to be a ninja. You're going to be kind of overthrowing everybody, and they're going to say, "What? Who was he? Where did he come from? Where did she come from? How did she do it?" And of course, it's our little secret. We know for a fact that it was just you working in the DAW. So let's go back in here. Let's finish it, and we'll go from there. So this is a very simple trick, right? Nothing fancy. It doesn't have to be hard, right? It doesn't have to be hard. My whole thing is, it's like, how can we take the easy stuff first? And so with this trick here, I took the kick, and here's what it sounded like before. All right. And so I added a whole ton of reverb. You can see that with the dry and wet signal, I reduced the dry signal so that I can hear the reverb as a whole. And so just by doing that simple little trick, we get a beautiful sounding kick here. Check it out. Now that is a very different experience than this. Okay? So it's all the small things, game of inches. All right, so if you guys want to see how I wrote that, I believe I've been writing so much lately. I believe it's in some of the past videos, so go ahead and check that out. I'm going to start opening up the next session here, so let me kind of get into it. If you have any questions for me, hit me up, and I'll be glad to answer. These could be questions pertaining to music licensing. This could be questions pertaining to just music production as a whole. Yeah, just let me know. All right, cool. So that worked out. And for those of you that are currently in the challenge, I also own a company called hfmusicacademy.com, and in that company, we're helping people get placements. Some of our guys just got placements on GoPro. Right now, we're working with a couple sports broadcasters. Yeah, that's turning on nicely. Yeah, a lot of people are being accepted into big publishers. It's really fun to see, people kind of do what you did, because when I started, there wasn't really a roadmap for this stuff. There wasn't a pathway. I was just trying to figure out, hey man, how can I make some money doing what I love? How can I stay in this world? And so, I started off literally producing in my bedroom, with my wife. She'd be there like sleeping, and I'd be kind of working it out and hustling. And then slowly but surely, what started happening was I just kind of stepped up my game, and I started getting more accounts. I started reaching out to more people. I started getting more confidence. I started building a team. I had collaborators, and it's been a fun ride, man. Winning some awards, having songs on trailers, commercials. It's been an absolute blast. If you want to check out my last project, check out the Kim Kardashian West Justice Project documentary, and I was the head composer on that. And if you want more information on what I do, how I do, when I do, what I do, why I do, go to hfmusicacademy.com. All right, so I want to show you the next track here. This one here is by an artist. So I've been telling kind of all my friends and all my people that this is my side hustle. A lot of people do different things. Prior to doing this, on a full-time basis, I tell people that I was a personal trainer 7 years ago, 6 years ago. And the reason I tell them that is because I want them to know, like, hey, I get it. I've been there. I know what it takes. I understand the struggle. I understand that you're going to have to climb a mountain. But if you have people by your side, if you have the right community, if you have people working with you, then let me tell you, you're going to be a lot stronger than if you're just doing it by yourself. So if you need a community, please get after it. Find it. Find it. All right. So let's listen to this track here. The vocals were just recorded, so I'm not going to play any of these vocals, okay? Once it's all done, I will be glad to get it going. But I still got to comp and do a whole bunch of stuff here. So anyway, here is a track called Rose. I'm going to play it all the way out. Got any questions for me? Hit me up. hfmusicacademy.com. Here we go. Right. So yeah, that track's coming out nice. It slaps. As Frosty would say, the guy who's rapping on here, it's a banger, right? You got all the right pieces. Everything feels good. It feels like a song. And so, here in the comments, we got a question: Wisdom and Flow. Is there a way to model another music and tweak it to my liking? Well, here let's talk about that. If you want to really start becoming like a student of the craft, like you really want your songs to sound like they're professional, my first recommendation is that you start using a reference track, but not even that. Um, you're also gonna have to start mimicking and copying what people do. And a good example of this, kind of in another context, but like if you listen to this drum beat right here, so that right there was a loop, right? And so I took that same loop and I added my own kind of pieces underneath it. And by doing that, I made it unique. I made it something that came from me rather than just a loop that you download from Splice or whatever. So here, check this out. A big part of this is just how much do you like it? How much are you into it? And if you're not into it, I'm telling you, people are not going to be into it. Like, I'll obsess. I'll literally get here and I'll obsess detail after detail after detail. I can't even tell you. Like, ask anybody that's sat next to me, that's worked here with me. Ask the members of, hfmusicacademy.com. It's all details. It's all just the things that most people are not paying attention to. And so, anyway, to answer your question, if you're gonna start writing music like other people, which is a great education, wisdom and flow, like that's probably the best thing you could do for your career, bro. I'm assuming you're a guy. So just do me a favor, take a track, whoever it is you like, The Weeknd, whatever it is you're up to, and then go through all the parts. Like, all right, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy the drums, and I'm gonna do it in such a way where I line everything up perfectly to the grid. Everything is quantized, and like you're making a study of it. In fact, when I'm done with this Audio Sparks 45-day challenge that's currently happening on hfmusicacademy.com, I'm not going to tell you what number I'm at, but I'm pretty high. I'm almost at the number I want to hit, which is 100 songs. And so what I'm going to do after that, the next phase of this, the next chapter, is I'm going to take songs and we're going to be analyzing them together. And so if you have requests for that, I will be glad to take songs that you want to work on, like songs in the vein of, X, and we'll do our best to kind of make them on the channel. So that's kind of the next phase of this. Here, I got another one. What an underrated band. Yup. I love that. Chris Baggs, what's up, man? All right, good. Well, hey, look, let me get into the rest of this. I just want to show you a couple of things here that I think will be useful to you. And we're closing out songs. You got to start them, but you got to close them too. Something that I found really interesting with this track was, and I did this live on the last session, I just recorded a very simple acoustic guitar. Here, check this out. But it did so much to the track just by adding one organic element. Listen to it now, kind of with the acoustic guitar in the back of your mind. All right, so tip, please, every once in a while, it could be samples, but try and record your own stuff. Try and record guitars. Maybe you use your voice as an instrument. You add some, if you can't sing, you add some auto-tune, you add some reverb. But man, it makes a world of a difference. If you don't play an instrument, look for some really good samples, and you'll find that it takes your productions to a whole nother dimension. Really, really good stuff. And then I think that's pretty much it for now. Yeah, let me get out of here and let's get into kind of this next phase here. All right, 1 second. All right, cool. If you have any questions for me, hit me up. Yeah, but we're getting it done. I'll tell you, there's so much going on. Hope everybody's well out there, staying safe, and also staying committed to whatever it is you want to do. If you want to be a musician, if that's what you say, and you're willing to take on the journey, because it's not just gonna kind of land on your lap, right? You have to kind of take it on. I highly recommend that you just stay committed. In most fields, there are people who are mildly interested. They're kind of like curious. Like those people who like they dip their toes in the water. They're just kind of checking it out. Like, oh well, maybe we'll jump in, right? And then there's people who are committed. Like maybe they bought the laptop. Maybe they have maybe they bought Logic or Ableton or Pro Tools. But they're still like kind of on the fence. They're not really doing the work. Uh, Maybe they bought a couple plugins and they've invested halfway. And so, of course, what do you think is going to happen when you invest halfway? Well, of course, your investment will only return, but only halfway, right? And so, uh, for those of you that are all in, we're talking your entire being, everything that you know to be true. For those of you who, after 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years are still standing. Number one, I give you props and I have much respect for you because most people will fall. Most people will fall. If you're the last man standing and you're still going strong, then I take my hat off to you. I salute you because that's what it takes. For the people that didn't make it, they didn't go long enough or they didn't believe they could do it. And so that's on them. That's fine. Everybody's on a different trajectory. Everybody's on a different trip. But for those of us that are still here, that are still facing it, that are still going for it, I salute you. All right. So let's get in. Unless you guys want to see something else, then basically I'm just going to do some composing. This is kind of more for beginners, intermediate level folks that are trying to learn something new, some different approaches. I'm literally just going to show you some super basic production tips that might have you thinking a little bit differently, okay? So let's go into my screen here, make sure my settings are where they need to be. Yup, everything's looking good. And again, I wrote this on the spot too. I don't remember these notes, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. All right, so key command option command P. Let's close the library. Let's close the inspector. We're in composition mode. We don't need to look at any of that. And so what we're gonna do today is, we have a theme laid out. We have a basic idea of what I like to call the main theme or a motif. I got a beat here, literally just dragged it in from Logic, but I'm gonna show you how to kind of make this a little bit more original. Right? Just kind of like take it in and make it your own. How do you do that? How can I make my beats better? How can I make my samples better? I'm somebody that's on sounds.com, Splice, and I have a bunch of samples. How can I make it better? All right, so that's what we're getting into. So here is the working idea. Hang tight. Why am I not hearing this? Let me just change my settings real quick. All right, let's double check this. All right, I'm not hearing that for some reason. Let me try this out. Let's try again. Not sure. I'm going to try one more time, and then if not, I'll start it over. So let's go here. No. All right, so let me close the session, kind of retry opening it back up. We'll see what happens here. Hold on. All right, cool. Let's do no save. Okay, let's go back in. Technical difficulties. Man, I'll tell you, it has been interesting. I've had a couple different technical things come up, and this is kind of another part of the biz, right? You got to tackle down, you got to figure out what's going on. I'll try this one more time, and then if not, we'll have to wing something else, team. Let's try this out. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Nah. All right. Well, Not sure what to do there. That was kind of my plan. I'll try opening it one more time. Let me close it up. Let's come back here. All right. Let's go here. Yeah, man. And you know, in an ideal world, it's like if you could just have it set up in such a way where there's no issues ever. That'd be like money, right? All right, cool. All right, so here I'm turning it on. See if we can make this happen. I know I've got it set up the way I need to. I'll tell you that. That looks good. Mm-hmm. Yup. This is good. Yep. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. All right. Let's see what happens here. Nope. See. Negative. All right. Well, I think we're gonna have to call it then. All right. Thank you for coming. Can't get around that. I'm not sure what's going on. This is a new system, recently upgraded, and so it should have worked. It worked the first two times. Not sure exactly what's happening. But if you're interested in more information, we have a whole bunch of stuff on the YouTube channel, resources for the modern creative. Do me a favor, if you're into what we're doing here, just subscribe, hit the notification bell. We really appreciate the opportunity to serve and to help you, and to just be a part of your journey, right? Because it's going to happen. You know, stay on the radar. Look at what we're doing. People are going to keep succeeding. People are going to keep growing. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be able to say, hey, you know, I was a part of your journey. I was a part of her journey. I was a part of his journey. And so anyway, I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much for your time. And if you're interested, again, in what we're up to, hfmusicacademy.com. We're super excited about all the possibilities. Man, I'm currently doing a deal with Apple, one of their training providers, and it's just so many great stuff happening over here. So look out for more videos coming, more content coming, and have yourself a great week. I'm going to do my best to be on tomorrow as well. So if you want more, let's get it. And we'll talk soon. All right. Thank you very much. Cheers, man. Stay up. Stay up.